Good morning, all of you. We will continue with the history chapter, Struggle for Indian Freedom. Okay, so we are having a look at some of the major mass movements which were led by the Congress under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. So we have started with the non-cooperation movement, and I have already told you that why Gandhiji he started the non-cooperation movement. I told you that Gandhiji he was of the view that the Britishers they were able to establish their rule in India because we the Indians cooperated with the British, and he thought that if we stopped cooperating with the British, then the British rule in India it will come to an end. All right. So, what was the purpose of launching the civil disobedience movement? Now, it was because of the British repression in Punjab, like we did about the Rowlatt Satyagraha, and we also studied about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So, after that, the Britishers they have dealt very badly, very severely and brutally with the Satyagrahis, and so it was against that. Then also British policies towards Turkey. If you remember, yesterday we did the Khilafat movement. You remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I told you with the Khilafat movement, two brothers are associated. Do you remember the names?
Ma'am, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali.
Yes, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. Very good. So, Ali brothers, they are associated with the Khilafat movement, and along with that, one more person's name is very important. Who is that?
Ma'am, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad.
Right, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. All right, so the British policy towards Turkey after the First World War, and also for the attainment of Swaraj, this non-cooperation movement it was launched. Now, this and here in your book it is written that the background it was provided by the impact of World War One. All right, this we have done. Rowlatt Act, Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and the Montague-Chelmsford reforms. Okay, now what were these Montague-Chelmsford reforms? You remember we did the Morley Minto reforms in the last chapter. Morley
Yes,
Minto.
ma'am.
Huh. Which year was that? When were the Morley Minto reforms passed?
Ma'am, 1909.
1909. And Montague Chelmsford reforms they were passed in 1919. Okay, now according to this particular act, certain changes were made. First, diarchy was introduced at the provincial level. Now, what is this diarchy? You know, like at present we have so many subjects. We have three lists in our constitution. One is called as the union list, one is called as the state list, and one is concurrent list. So basically what happens, the subjects which are mentioned in union list like defense and related to finance and all that, now they are foreign affairs and all, they are under the control of the union or the central government, and only they can make laws on those subjects. Then there's a state list, and all the different state governments they can make laws on the subjects which are mentioned in the state list. Now like agriculture, trade, education, and so many things which are required. Then there's also an concurrent list, and whatever subjects are mentioned there, both the state government and the central government they can make laws on that. And basically if there's a conflict, like both are making laws on the same thing, and basically welfare subjects are there also in the concurrent list. So education, family welfare and all that, health. So now if both have made laws on something related to education, so if there's a conflict, then the laws which are passed by the central government they will prevail, because in our federation the central government it tends to be more powerful. Okay, now at this level what happened, diarchy was introduced at the provincial level, means at the state level. At that time states were called as provinces. So at the provinces level, provincial level, diarchy was introduced, means the state subjects they were divided into two. Okay, now the important ones like finance, police, law and order, now they were under the reserved list, and the British officials only they had the power to make laws on that. And then the other was the transferred list, and on that subjects like education, health and all, they were there. And in that the council ministers or the legislative assembly people, they can make laws on that. And so basically, important things were under the control of the Britishers. Now, even if education was given or health was given to the Indians to make laws on, but even if you pass certain law, even if you want to open certain school, you need finances, you need money for that. And money was under the control of whom? Yes,
British.
British. So obviously they were not able to do anything. And so the Indians, they did not like this act at all. And then but few other things were also there under this Montague-Chelmsford reform, that the Public Service Commission, it was also established. And now vote. So basically, what we need to understand from these Montague-Chelmsford reforms is that the people, they did not like it, they were against it, they did not accept the Montague-Chelmsford reforms, the provisions which were given under that. And so obviously this was the background, and in this background Gandhiji, he launched the non-cooperation movement. Now, non-cooperation movement was one of the major events in India's struggle for independence against the British, and this movement was led by Mahatma Gandhiji, and obviously with the active support of Indian National Congress. Now, non-cooperation movement, it was launched on 1st August 1920, and basically it involved a passive resistance. Means you resist, but by not fighting back, you don't retaliate, you simply resist, and without resorting to violence. Means so basically what they said, that okay, this was like I told you about satyagraha and all, that what was satyagraha, that the satyagrahi, what he will do, he will not retaliate, he will not fight back, even if he had to suffer. So under this, what happened, the non-cooperation movement, it also involved a passive resistance. The people will resist, but without making any violence or without resorting to violence. And means whatever the British will do to them, obviously they will not fight back. So that was what they wanted. And now this non-cooperation movement, it had to be unfolded in stages. Now there were 3 stages to this non-cooperation movement. First was the surrendering of the titles. Now the British government, they were in the habit of giving titles to people who please them by doing certain good work for them. So they were honorary titles. And like we did that after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, Rabindranath Tagore, he renounced his title of which title? After Jallianwala Bagh massacre, Rabindranath Tagore, he
Title,
renounces, yes,
title of knight.
knighthood. All right. And so first step was the surrendering of the titles. Okay, that okay, we don't want your titles, you keep it to yourself. Second was boycott. Means you boycott everything British. Okay, whether it was British goods, British cloth, British schools, colleges and offices, law courts, even British legislators. And then the third was that even after this, if the Britishers will not listen to their demands, then they will launch a full-fledged civil disobedience movement. Civil disobedience movement is, we did it in brief, deliberate defying of laws. Means deliberate breaking of colonial laws, thereby saying that you have no authority to rule over us. Okay. So, see, titles were surrendered, important posts in the governments were resigned, foreign clothes were discarded under this, and many places huge bonfires were there, and people, they burnt the foreign cloth in those huge bonfires. You know what is a bonfire? I hope all of you know. Yes, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Now, under this movement, the Congress party, they also established their own parallel police force. Obviously, the Britishers, they had their police force. The Congress, they also established their own police force, and this was done to have an alternative to the government forces. Means just like the Britishers, they have their own forces. So because it was India, the Indians, they had it was their country, so they were the ones who should be ruling. So they also set up their own parallel police force. And almost every region in the country, they participated in the movement. And local leaders, all the people, the women also, they participated in the movement in large numbers. Even the school students, college students, they all left their schools and colleges, and many people, they joined this non-cooperation movement. Then during this time, a visit by the Prince of Wales, so the prince, he came to India on 17th November 1921. And when he came, so there was no one to welcome him, and there were just empty streets, clothes, the shops were closed, and there was no one to welcome him. Then I have already told you that this non-cooperation movement, it was going on steady, and people, they came and joined it in large numbers. But because this movement was turning violent in many places, and then finally on 12th February 1922, a violent incident happened at Chori Chora. And there what happened, a peaceful procession was going on, and the police, they lathi charge, and the people, they got angry, and they set fire to a police station, thereby killing 25 policemen and also a inspector. And Mahatma Gandhi, as he was again all sorts of violence, so he called off the non-cooperation movement. Okay, so have you understood non-cooperation movement? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, let's move on. Now the next heading is not right, because civil disobedience movement is not from 1922 to 1929, it started in 1930. So here the next heading is not right. The next heading ideally should have been Swaraj Party, which is mentioned here as a subheading. Okay, Swaraj Party. Now during this time, because why they are saying that there was a dull political atmosphere during the period 1922 to 1929. Why dull? Because at this time we did not have any major mass movement. After the non-cooperation movement was called off, and the next mass movement, civil disobedience movement, it was launched in 1930. So during this time there was no mass movement launched, and that is why it is said to be a period of dull political activity. And why this period was dull? Because the non-cooperation movement, it was called off. But this dull time, it was enlivened, means it was brought to life by the birth of Swaraj Party. Now there were certain leaders in Congress like Chittaranjan Das and Motilal Nehru, who appealed for council entry. Now if you remember, I told you that under the non-cooperation movement, the second stage was the boycott of everything British. It also included the boycott from legislative assemblies, means those people who were already there as leaders, as representatives, they also resigned from their position. Now after this was called off, non-cooperation movement was called off, so in the Congress there were two group of people. One thought that okay, we should continue with this movement only, and now we should focus on bringing the people together, and a constructive program, and like Swadeshi and spread of education and all that, and that they should continue in resisting the British, just like they were doing under the non-cooperation movement. But there was another group which thought that now they should start again participating in the elections. Now why they wanted to participate in the elections? They thought that okay, if we participate in the elections and we are selected, we are there in large numbers, then we won't let them do as they wish. So if they want to pass any law, then obviously we will be there, and we will not let it happen. So the Swaraj Party members, it was led by Chittaranjan Das and Motilal Nehru. They appealed that they should be allowed to again enter the elections. And now basically what they wanted to obstruct the British government from passing laws which were against the Indians. So that is why they wanted again to contest elections. And they were given the permission, and so they contested the 1923 elections, and they were also able to win a large number of seats in the Central Legislative Assembly and even at the Provincial Council, means at the central government also and at the different state level also, they were able to win many seats. And then obviously they tried very hard so that the Britishers will not be able to pass the laws which were against the Indians. Okay, now the Swarajis, their influence, it became so formidable. Formidable means it became so inspiring fear and respect. Why? Because they became so powerful and capable and large, and so even Gandhiji, he also had to recognize the Swarajis as the parliamentary wing of the Congress. So all the Congress leaders, they did not participate in the elections, but the wing that they did, all right, so it was called as the Swarajis. So Gandhiji, he recognized them as the parliamentary wing of the Congress. But what happened, within a few years, the Swarajis, they were not able to accomplish much. And so in the beginning, obviously they were able to do little, but then later on they were not able to accomplish much. And then after the death of Chittaranjan Das in 1925, they became very weak and were not able to accomplish much. Okay. Then we have the Simon Commission. Now, the British government, they set up the Simon Commission in November 1927, and basically what they wanted to evaluate that how the Government of India Act of 1919, now it was being executed in India, how it was being implemented. And basically the Simon Commission was there to suggest constitutional changes in India, all right, changes in our constitution in India. And this commission was headed by Sir Simon, and that is why it is called as the Simon Commission. And it reached Mumbai on 3rd February 1928, but it was boycotted here by all parties. Why? Because this particular commission was there to see into the constitution of our country, all right, the laws, and also to had a look at the Government of India Act of 1919, that to evaluate that the Montague Chelmsford reforms and all that. And but the main problem was that there was no Indian in this commission, all right. There were 7 members in this commission, and they were all British. Now you want to bring about changes in Indian constitution, you are talking about India, and no Indian representative was there in this particular body. And so obviously the people, they rejected the Simon Commission, and wherever the commission went, it was welcomed by slogans of Simon, go back Simon. And there were agitations, there were revolts, there were small rebellions against the commission all over the country. And in one such agitation at Lahore, Lala Lajpat Rai, he was beaten. So they many places in country, they had this protest against the Simon Commission, and obviously they were all peaceful protests. But at one place, these peaceful protests, it was lathi charge by the British. And in one such incident, Lala Lajpat Rai, he was beaten by sticks. And later on, the injuries that he got from this lathi charge, because of that he succumbed, or he died. And with his death, they were the whole country, it was shocked with the death of Lala Lajpat Rai. Okay, so for today we will stop here. Okay, so now, have you all understood very clearly everything about non-cooperation movement, whatever we have done? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
You need to know why non-cooperation. Why did Gandhiji, he chose non-cooperation, and then why this movement was launched. I told you, British repression in Punjab, British, and then their policy towards Turkey, and for the attainment of Swaraj. Then you also need to remember that it was launched in 3 stages. All right, and so all that, and then it was called off because of a violent incident at Chauri Chaura. So all this you need to remember under that. Then Swaraj Party, so Chittaranjan Das, Motilal Nehru, all right, they're called as the Swarajas of the Swaraj Party. Then Simon Commission 1927, the people, they rejected the Simon Commission. Why? Because there was no Indian in the commission, and so the people, they rejected it. And in one of the agitations against the Simon Commission, Lala Lajpat Rai, he was beaten with sticks, and which later on caused his death. Okay, so for today we'll stop here.